What's up guys, it's Eric from Erot Games, and today we're going to be talking about 5 beginner friendly decks that are guaranteed to help you climb the ranks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Whether you're someone that just started playing Duel Links, maybe you've had the game for a couple days, maybe you just downloaded it, or maybe you're one of those people that actively avoids ranked because you don't know what kind of deck to use. Whoever you are, the whole point of this video is to guide the viewer in the right direction when it comes to picking the first couple decks or your first deck to take into ranked. Now, before we start with this list, just please make sure to like the video, consider commenting because that'll help spread the video out to other people and to support the channel. Now, without further ado, let's kick off this list. These decks are in no particular order. The only criteria they all have to meet is being cheap and easy to play. Now, to kick this list off, we're gonna start with none other than Blue Eyes White Dragon. If you're familiar with Duel Links, this shouldn't be a surprise, but if you're fresh to Duel Links, this might be a surprise. Like an iconic card like Blue Eyes White Dragon is actually viable and ranked is like, oh snaps, like that's crazy. Blue Eyes White Dragon Battle Chronicle version specifically, the pros of this deck is it has a very easy game plan. It's a pretty simple beat down strategy. You play super aggressive, you get your big bodies out, you just get your big dragons out and you punch people with them. It's really nothing more to it. The skill not being once per, like not once per duel is pretty good because I'm not too familiar with what Battle Chronicle does because I don't use it, but I do know it helps you search Ultimate Fusion, so that's pretty cool. And it lets you normal summon your Blue Eyes White Dragon like it's a normal monster, so that's also pretty cool. And the deck is relatively really cheap to build. There's a friend invitation campaign starter deck that you can get, and to get this one I believe all you have to do is just basically get a friend and have them download the game or something like that. It's something like that. I'll have it on screen how to get it. But this structure deck comes with 3 copies of Melody of Awakening Dragon, 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, a single copy of Dragon Spirit of White, 3 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole, and if you want to play White Stone of Legend, I haven't seen White Stone of Legend in the Battle Chronicle build. I don't think I have, or if I have, they play it at 1, but point is the deck comes with that if you're also interested, and it also comes with other stuff, but those cards specifically are the highlights because you get them basically for free. Extra deck, I believe it comes with the Twin Burst Dragon, the Synchro Spirit Dragon, and Azure Eyes. You can also get 1 copy of the White Dragon of Legend deck. I believe it's 1,000 gems. And that deck specifically comes with 2 copies of Dragon Spirit of White and a single copy of Bingo Machine Go. Magician's Chronicle deck is where you get Ultimate Fusion, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Neo Ultimate Dragon as a level up reward for Kaiba, and I do know you get Dragon Master Knight through the card trader. A couple of the cons, I guess you have to pull, I believe the quick play spell, Successor Soul, I think is what it's the one where you tribute your Blue Eyes to send something to the graveyard on your opponent's side of the field. It's something like that. It's a form of removal. You have to pull that, and obviously the biggest con to this deck is that an optimal extra deck is kind of expensive, and by kind of expensive it can get pretty expensive because off the top of my head I know you play Dingirsu, which is in a main box. I think he's in a main box. You play the number 46, you play that one World Chalice Link 1 monster, and I think you play Sky Prison. And I mean, I guess it counts as a con, but it is a specific character / specific skill. So, I mean, I don't even know if that really counts as a con, but I mean, I wrote it down just in case. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next deck. All right, deck number 2. Again, no particular order. I have Tenyi. Go over the pros really quick. Easy game plan. It's a pretty aggressive deck. I would say it's a pretty aggressive deck. All it does is you just start with your Tenyi monster and you just link climb, because the Tengyis have the ability to special summon themselves if you control no effect monsters, which the link monsters become not effect monsters, so you can keep summoning your Tengyis that way, and your Tengyis have graveyard effects that are really good, and I would say really straightforward to use. There's no specific skill for this deck. The skill that a lot of people use is the something Legend of Heroes. Dude, I should have wrote that down. I didn't think of writing the skill down. I'll have it on screen, but it's the one that helps you gain life points, because life point gain is always good, you know? Personally think if you're a player that is afraid of link summoning, or a player that doesn't understand how to link summon, this deck will help you get the hang of that like right away, just because I feel it's really good at explaining the mechanic and explain, like, if you can play Tenyi, you understand how to link summon. Like, there's just no way, because whenever I was first getting into the game, link summoning did intimidate me a little bit, because like reading it from the rule book, I didn't 100% understand what it was about. But once I started playing link monsters and I saw decks like Tenyi play, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, this link one needs this one monster, you know? Can get all the cards in the World of Barian mini box. Believe the deck has like a couple spots for tech cards that you can sub in, but all your cards you're gonna get from that one mini box, so that's pretty good. Move on to the cons. I know for sure this deck does not like graveyard interruptions. It does not like Skullmeister. It does not like DD Crow, because that can jack you up. It doesn't like cards like Dimensional Fissure, which I haven't seen people play, but point is, it doesn't like cards that interfere with the graveyard. It doesn't like Necro Valley. Like, it doesn't like cards that don't let you use your graveyard, because it uses the graveyard a lot. And the biggest con is, I would say, it got power crept pretty bad. It's nowhere near as strong as it once was. You can still get some good wins with it, though. I believe you could still King of Games with it. I believe someone King of Gamed with that deck recently, but it's nowhere near as strong as it was a couple months ago, which is kind of sad to see, but that's Yu-Gi-Oh for you. And I guess the last con is that you do need to go through this mini box 3 times. You need to go through this mini box 3 times, sadly. But it is worth it. You do need 3 of the I don't know their names, I just know I'll have them on screen, but you absolutely need 3 of the you need 3 of the Monk. I believe you can get away with 2 Shaman, but I think I've seen 3 Shamans too. You're gonna need the Synchro Monster, the one that comes in the limited 1 special pack. I don't know his name, but you're gonna need him too, because he's a pretty big piece to the puzzle when it comes to playing the deck. But yeah, Tenyi is the second deck that we just talked about. I really recommend it. I believe it's a pretty strong deck, and it helps you most importantly, it'll help a new player understand how to link summon. Moving on to the next deck, you've seen him on the thumbnail. We're talking about Tachyon. Pros, again, really easy game plan. It's basically level 8 monster spam and just punch your opponent in the face with some really strong rank 8 monsters. The skill Tachyon Dragon Domination is really good, even after getting nerfed recently. Well, is it recently? I don't even know, dude. It feels recently, to me at least, but the skill is still stupid good. It helps you get to your counter trap. I can't remember the name of it, but you get the counter trap that when you control a Galaxy Ice Tachyon Dragon, you can use it from your hand during your opponent's turn. So, I mean, if that's not good, I don't know what is. And most importantly, you can get all of the cards through the mini box Tachyon of Galaxy. And I picked this deck because it also, if you're someone that doesn't understand how to Exceed summon, even though I believe it is the easiest summoning mechanic to understand, if you're someone that has trouble with the concept of Exceed summoning, this deck helps helps with that like right away, because it's like you get one level 8, another level 8, boom, Xyz summon. Pretty simple. We're going on to the cons. The cons is that if you want to build an extra deck that is not just make a Tachyon, use the skill, get your counter trap pass, it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna cost you a pretty penny. I'm gonna have the cards up on screen, but you're gonna need to use a couple of your dream tickets and a bit of your gems to complete that extra deck, because those monsters are scattered. I do know that for a fact, that they're all scattered. Another con that this deck has is that it's pretty susceptible going second, I find, because this deck, if you haven't pieced it together yet, relies a lot on making Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. But if your opponent stops you from making the Tachyon Dragon, I mean, there's not too much that you can do after that, you know? And another little thing is that it is character specific. You do need, I think, is it Mizar? I believe it's Mizar. You do need that Zexal character to play this deck with the good skill. Tachyon, really strong deck, just kind of susceptible going second, and the extra deck is pretty pricey if you don't want to just keep it at Tachyon Pass, which I'm not trying to scare anybody by saying that, especially like going from rookie to like even platinum. Tachyon with a couple face downs and the counter trap, I mean, that's pretty solid. All right, on to the next deck. It's a deck that I don't see anybody really talk about. Sorry, I moved my paper, so I apologize if you heard that, but it's Toons. Really easy game plan. Just summon your Toon monsters and attack directly. Another pro is that this deck doesn't require an extra deck. You don't even, I mean, you can use an extra deck with like generic Link monsters, but you don't have to. Most of these cards are in the World of Barian, and a lot of the Toon monsters are obtainable through tickets, so you're not even necessarily spending a lot of money. And a card that I want to shout out specifically is Toon Briefcase. Non-targeting, that means it moves around a lot of card text, and it doesn't destroy, it shuffles back. So I mean, and it's not once per turn. I don't think it's once per turn. So Toon Briefcase is pretty solid, and it's really annoying to deal with. The skill is pretty decent. I don't remember the name of it, but I believe it lets you normal summon your Toons like nothing, and I believe it allows you to search Toon Kingdom. No, it doesn't search Toon Kingdom. It gives you Toon World. It does something with Toon World. And Toon Blackluster Soldier does a lot of the heavy lifting for this deck, because he gets the effect of the normal Envoy of the Beginning Blackluster Soldier, so he can either banish or he can attack twice, which, being a 3000 attack point monster that you can just slap on the field like that, I mean, that's not bad at all. That's definitely gonna get you through silver, gold. Like, it's definite, especially if your opponent doesn't have like Cosmic or anything. Yeah, that's gonna get you pretty far. Which comes to the cons. This deck, if your opponent does open with Cosmic, and because Toon Kingdom is really good, but it is susceptible to like Cosmic Cyclone, so that's that. If your opponent has that, they can target your Toon monsters again, and it's just not a very good time with you. And really, that's the biggest con of this deck, is if your opponent has stuff. If your opponent has back row removal, the deck suffers, and if your opponent has a way to beat over all of your monsters with something like Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, that's just the first example that comes to mind, because that's how I beat this deck. If they have something like that, it can really hinder the deck, but I mean, other than that, the deck is pretty solid. I mean, easy game plan, good skill. I mean, I guess another con is that it's character specific. You need Pegasus, but I mean, I don't even really consider that a con, but yeah. Timelords. I don't know why nobody, I mean, I kind of know why nobody talks about Timelords, because they're not the best deck, but early on, it can be pretty annoying. Pretty easy game plan. Just summon your Timelords. The skill does a lot of the heavy lifting, because it sets up your traps. Because if you read the Timelords, yes, they do shuffle back, but the traps help your Time Lords stay on the field. And I believe it gives them targeting protection, I believe. That's what the traps do. I'll have to fact check, but I'm pretty sure it's targeting protection. And if your opponent doesn't have a way to get rid of the traps, and if they don't have a way to negate the effect of your Time Lords, they are not going to have a fun time, because the Time Lords cannot be destroyed by battle, and you, the owner, takes no damage in battles involving the Time Lords. So, shoot, man, like, that's pretty solid. But the cons of this deck is it does lose to effect negations. If your opponent has something like Forbidden Chalice, or again, Arc Rebellion, Xyz Dragon, if they have something that negates the face-up field, you're in trouble, because a lot of the Time Lords are zero. Are they zero? I don't even know. It's been a long time since I've faced against Time Lords, but yeah. And the other big con is that their big monster is 4,000 attack points, but you need 10 monsters in the graveyard to summon him. So that's, even with the skill helping you out, set up your traps early, it still takes some work to get there. So unfortunately, though, that's a pretty big drawback in my opinion. Definitely the weakest deck out of the 5, but the fact that a lot of the Time Lords are zone level up rewards, and you get all of them from, which mini box was it, Pulse of the Quasars, that you get all of your cards from there. Solid, very, very solid deck. Now on to the honorable mentions. Lunalights. Lunalights, pretty easy deck to understand. You just fusion summon your big fusion monster, the cat dancer, that is pretty annoying to get rid of if you're not ready for it. And I believe there's a deck builder box for it, and the deck is pretty much entirely available there. So that's pretty cool, pretty free to play. If you're wanting to play a more fusion based deck, you could do that. The Phantom Knights, I am super biased towards this deck. I like it almost as much as Raid Raptor, but I do enjoy Raid Raptor a little bit more. But the game plan is so easy. You just level 3 summon, Xyz summon, you get your dragons out, and you just start clapping cheeks left and right, dude. Those were the 5 decks and some honorable mentions of some very beginner friendly, cost-efficient decks. Maybe not Phantom Knights, like I said, because you do have to go through a couple things, but it's still relatively cheap compared to other decks in my opinion. Straightforward. I'm gonna have all the information on screen so you guys can follow along. If you guys enjoyed this type of video, this type of content, make sure to leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'm gonna see you guys later this week.